So I wanted to do this video for a long time. I probably should have done this with my first and second baby at this point. My third child is now about a month old, and so I wanted to go ahead and share my pumping journey thus far and how I stash a lot of breast milk. So if you follow through Instagram or Facebook, you've been watching the stash that's been going on behind the scenes. I do have a lot of B-roll that I'm going to be including on here, so you're going to see what it was like the first week, second, third, and so on. So I have to preface this, apologies to those who've heard it 1,000 times, but let me preface by saying that if you plan on staying home and solely breastfeeding for the first year or two, or you just don't have to work, then that is amazing. You are truly blessed. This video is really for moms like me who have to get back to work. In my case, I had to get back to work within 10 days. I am self-employed. My jobs have always been very 1099-ish in the past decade. That sounds bad, 1099-ish, like I'm hiding something. Everything I do is you're on self-employment, so you kind of have to make your own hours, you make your own money. You can't get maternity leave, if that makes sense. So if you're in that boat as well, then a video like this would be for you. There are a lot of reasons to pump besides having to go back to work, but it's getting the baby also used to being bottle fed and still wanting to provide them with the best milk out there, which is breast milk. This video is not to debate whether formula is better or breast milk is better. Breast milk is better. That's been proven. Sorry. Also, there's, moments where if not just for the dad to be able to feed the baby, but for a sitter, if you need to get a sitter. I've known many moms who they can't go anywhere the first year of their baby's life because their baby will only take the boob. That's something that you're gonna want to start training them on within the first week or two if you wanna do both. So you can have the feedings, I would suggest breastfeeding right before pumping so that they're getting most of it and then they can get the stream going. I double pump. So let's get started and right into it. What is my favorite pump to use? Well, I really love the Medela brand. I just think that they're tried and true. I've used everything from the in-pump Advanced to the Sonata, which is the one that I'm primarily using for this one. With my first two babies, I use the Medela Lactina Select, which is the hospital grade pump, and that's really because insurance in California, it was easier for me to obtain that. Here in Nevada, I was not able to luck out this time in getting one. Every place seemed to have either a waiting list for it or they just didn't have it in stock. Those on their own, if you can afford to just outright buy one, they're about $1,200. I found that the suction and the pull on those was the best working, the Medela Lactina Select. However, with the training I've done this time around, the Medela Sonata has been a favorite. It's also the most quiet. So I like that one a lot. I double pump. So when it comes to pumping bras, I have two that I'm using now. I have the halter top one that zips in the middle. I love that kind because I just feel like, well, it's obviously designed for that. So the way that they place the holes for your nipples are just right versus the self-made one that I have, which I love too because it's got the support up here. If you are a little more busty, then I would suggest getting something that has like a halter or just the support for here. Versus when I'm using the other one, I kind of end up halfway through having to hold it up in the middle. Let's just say I started off at perky C's before I had kids, and once the milk comes in, before I'm giving birth, I'm already at F's, so you can only imagine what happens when the milk really comes in. So I want to get into your milk. Okay, let's talk about your milk. When you first give birth to a baby, they come out full, okay? They're not coming out starving. So often moms aren't told this, and in the hospital we are immediately discouraged, or just at home we become discouraged because we're feeling like, number one, we can't see what they're getting. But the first few days, they're really just getting that thick yellow stuff in your breast called colostrum. So there really is not supposed to be that much milk there. Can you start pumping the first day? Yeah, I start pumping immediately. I'm breastfeeding, and then when the baby is asleep, I am trying to pump out, even if I'm sitting on there for 20 minutes and I'm getting just drops. That's where I like to use that Frida. And that one has been really beneficial because it's more of like a syringe and you can slowly give it to your baby. We like to, when we were feeding Enzo the first, I think we used that Frida for the first 4 to 5 days when it was mostly colostrum. It was the thicker stuff. So you take that little syringe and you want to put it in the side of the baby's cheek, so that's how you're slowly releasing, so that they don't choke on the milk. It's a very slow process. If you want to imagine your child's stomach, in the first few days of life, their tummy is as big as a marble. So think about a marble, and that's as much as it could be filled anyway. If that gives you any hope, if it encourages you, you are definitely feeding your baby more than enough. Babies do need to be fed typically every 2 to 3 hours. So just imagine I gotta fill a golf ball size. If you are pumping, you can see what's coming out and you could be more encouraged that you are making enough. If you're not pumping, then you're kind of going by, well, I hope that they're getting enough milk there. But your body will produce. So what I like to do in the first 2 to 3 months with my first 2 babies is when I'm trying to get the milk production going, I was going on the pump every 2 to 3 hours with as much as the baby was eating. So in the first 4 months, then by 4 months around, you can get to every 4 hours. By 6 months, you can get to every 6 hours. Because of supplements and things that I'm taking, like from Malungai, or in America they call it moringa, I do raspberry leaf teas in the beginning. I do a lot of brothy soups, so like clam-based broth, chicken-based, ginger soups. I just was having a huge milk production this time around. I thought that I'd have to be on the pump every 3 hours, where in the beginning from week 1, I was on every 6 hours. So I'm only able to be on the pump 4 times a day, which is really awesome. So I've kind of already got them trained to that. You choose your own hours, choose what works for you. For me and my schedule, my kids' schedule, because they're in school, the fact that I want to get to bed before 10 o'clock at night to deal with the nighttime feedings, I chose to go on 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m., 3 a.m. That's just my schedule for now. Eventually I'm gonna get onto every 8 hours, and who knows what I'm gonna choose from then. Maybe there'll be a noon feeding in there somewhere, but it really is gonna depend on my schedule. A week in, your baby's belly is the size of like a super marble. It's still smaller than a ping pong ball. And then after about 10 days, it's the size of a golf ball. So if you have to imagine how you're filling that up every 3 hours. And then of course they're, using the bathroom. Of course they're digesting, they're pooping it out, and then you gotta feed them again. So it's this constant game of reload the baby. So you guys saw what we got the first pumping session, how I was only able to get about 2 milliliters. This is just 4 hours later when I pumped again for the same amount of time. I think I did another almost 30 minutes. And it's literally, if you can see it, more than doubled. I got 5 milliliters the second time around. So that's gonna go a long way. That's gonna last him more than 2 separate feedings. And I'm just showing this to you guys to continue to encourage you that sometimes you need to see it. You need to see what's coming out to know that you're capable of producing enough milk for your newborn baby. The first 4 days, like I tell everybody, they're born with their bellies full. So in those first days, you don't need to stress yourself that they're not getting enough milk. And moms who are breastfeeding, they can even tell you that, You know, a lot of what the baby is doing is just sucking at the nipple, learning how to latch, but mostly just getting little drops of colostrum. So, so yeah, just wanted to show you that difference. You guys can see for yourself if it can get that, how much more you're able to produce. So